Hi there, Corey here. And today I wanted to make a video about the list segments that you could be emailing using your email service provider like Klaviyo. If you're using one already, maybe you're wondering what these audiences are. Maybe you've heard other e-com stores sending out emails to different audiences, and you just don't really know where to start. So if that's you, this is a perfect video for you. Apologize if I'm a bit sniffly. I do have a cold at the moment. Okay, so let's get into it. So first of all, what is an audience segment? So as I say, this will be something that is within your email provider, like whether it's Klaviyo or Omnisend or whichever one you might use. Essentially, it's a segment of your email list, and there are essentially endless segments that you can create, but it's best to not get too carried away. So by that I mean, say that you were to create an audience of people who are subscribed to your email list and placed an order 90 days ago, right? Or within the last 90 days, shall we say. Right? You could then also make an audience that is an email subscriber and purchased from you within the last 91 days, right? And you could do the same thing in the last 92 days, right? You could just, 93 days, you could just essentially continue forever making endless audiences. And as I say, it's best to not get too carried away with that. So the main reason to segment your list is that every single customer segment is usually at a different buying temperature, so it requires different messaging. And when I go into the audience segments in this video, you'll see that there's different buying temperatures for each one. Maybe some of them are similar, but generally they're at different buying temperatures. So the first one is the Xday engaged. So whether this is the 30-day engaged, the 60-day engaged, 90-day engaged, 120, 180, like whatever it is, a segment of your audience that has clicked or opened in the last X amount of time. So why email this segment? Like, why is this? And by the way, these aren't really any particular order. It's just the top 8 that we find to generate the most revenue for our clients, and we email mostly. So this segment showed recent interest in your brand's emails, and they're most likely to open and click. Okay, so obviously for things like domain health as well, it's important to be getting 20% open rates, click rates of 3% or above, etc. And a really good way to do that is to email people who, as I say, are most likely to open or click. So the second one would be VIPs. So these are customers who have spent at least X dollars in the last, X pounds or whichever, in the last Y days, or have spent 3 to 5 times your average order value. So maybe that's a little bit confusing, but essentially, let's say you have an average order value, and you should be able to see this quite easily on your, whether it's Shopify or eCommerce or whichever, you should be able to see your average order value. Now, if you multiply that by 3 to 5 times, and as I say, depending on whether it's 3 or 5, I'll go into that at the end of the videos to, how to decide whether you should change a segment or not, whether you should change it from a 15-day to a 60-day engaged, for example. I'll go into that towards the end. So, as I say, if you have an average order value of, let's say, $100, you could say, if a customer spent at least $300, if we were to go with the 3 times average order value, if you spent at least $300 in the last, say, 90 days, or in the last even 6 months or a year, right, then that's a specific segment of person, right? So why would you email this segment? These are essentially your most loyal and engaged customers, okay? These people have spent the most amount of money. They've purchased maybe the most number of times. That's also another metric you could use, like placed certain number of orders. But yeah, as I say, they love your brand, they love your product, they keep buying from you, and these people can be emailed specifically with special offers, exclusive discounts, just thank yous, early access to things, like all this type of stuff. So number 3, past purchases. So within last X days, so past purchaser within 90 days, within 100 days, 180 days, whichever. Why email this segment? This segment will trust your brand already as they've purchased before, and they won't need as many offers. Okay, so if you're sending an offer out to your audience, you can maybe exclude this list because they've already bought. You might want to save the offers for people who maybe haven't bought already. And obviously creating this audience allows you to exclude them as well, which is quite handy. And then, yeah, also just emailing this list specifically. Maybe you're just thanking them for buying from you, for being a customer. And this could be separate to the thank you flow, of course. You could maybe even, to make it more complex, you could remove people who have received the thank you flow in the last X amount of times. Just so they don't get kind of two emails like that. But yeah, let's say this is just an email segment that you can message, and yeah, it could be worth a try to try and get some extra revenue out without just emailing your engaged. So number 4 is purchase specific product or category. So why this email? Why you should email this segment? Basically, you're going the extra mile to personalize emails based on what people have bought. So essentially what I'm getting at here is, instead of, as I say in the example, if you're signing up because you like, say, protein powder, you'll see similar products based on that interest. If you have a store where you sell lots of different, let's say, categories of products, okay, like cases and wallets and all this stuff, you may want to just send an email to people who have bought a wallet, or maybe you want to show them specifically other products that are not wallets, for example. And obviously, again, you can exclude this list, so it's not just about sending to this list, you can also exclude certain lists as well, which is very handy. Yeah, so obviously that's super important to remember. Now, number 5 is added to cart but never bought. So this is the people on your list who are subscribed, added a product to their cart from your site, but for some reason they never bought, and I guess the abandoned cart flow also didn't convert them. So why email this segment? They're red hot but didn't quite finish. Okay, so something happened, something threw them off. They didn't convert from the abandoned cart flow. But why not go ahead and just send them some discounts, reviews, social proof, right? By the bucket load, because these people just need more convincing. Okay. 6 started checkout but never bought. So as you can see, very similar to the last one, even more hot, you could say, in terms of buying temperature. But again, just discounts, reviews, social proof. 7, gender. So yeah, you can email both. Well, I don't want to get into gender discussions and whatnot, but for the purpose of email, we just do male and female. It's how it's done through Klaviyo, which we mostly use, and it just has 2 options, male or female, and it's just a predictive thing based on their name. So yeah, this allows you to essentially email your list based on the gender, and this is useful for certain brands. Some brands it doesn't really matter too much, but if you're as I say here, if you're a woman who signs up to a fashion brand's email list, you generally want to see women's clothing. You're generally not gonna want to see the new men's clothes, unless maybe there's Father's Day coming up or something, and then you could buy a gift. But in general, I'm sure if you sign up to a fashion brand as a woman, you just want to see women's clothes, and vice versa. If you're a man, you just want to see their men's clothes. So this is another segment that you can email, and it allows you to send 2 separate emails basically. And yeah, number 8 is geography. So this is location based. something you may not have thought about, but is something useful to try. So why email this segment? This allows you to essentially speak the language the right way by speaking based on the location of the contact. So this is super useful for physical stores. If you have obviously an e-com store, maybe you have like a physical store as well. This type of thing works well, just so you can maybe get people to come to your store physically for some reason, to get some special offer or something, or even just if you have if you sell to lots of different countries, you can send it to different locations based on language, based on just the way you talk, different things like that. Okay, so obviously it just gives you a lot to play with there. And yeah, this is really all 8 that we use. So the Xday engaged, the VIPs, past purchases, purchase specific product category, added to cart or checkout but never bought, gender and geography. So this leads me into just kind of the final segment really, which is how do you know if a segment is healthy to email? And maybe you could even be sending more emails to this segment, right? How do you know when is too much, when is not enough? Essentially, how we do it at the agency is we look at each segment, and in terms of the emails that you're sending, they should be getting a 20% open rate and a 2 to 4% click rate around that area. But obviously, 2 to 4% plus and 20% plus open rates is ideal. If the unsubscribe rate also stays below 0.3% and the spam rate stays below 0.08%, continue to email them or even increase the number of emails. So in an example here, let's say you're emailing your engaged list and you're emailing them, and you're doing let's say 120-day engaged, right? And you're getting open rates of 10% hypothetically or 12%, right? You can tell from that you're not quite meeting the criteria that you should for open rate. Maybe your click rate is fine even, or is low as well. But either way, you can tell, oh, okay, that's not good. Okay, that needs to be changed. And then maybe next time you send to your 90-day engaged, okay, and you get 18% open rate, or maybe you get 20% open rate, in which case that's great. But if you say maybe you get an 18%, maybe you go to your 60-day engaged, okay, and maybe you have to keep going down to even a 15-day engaged or something like that. Just depends on your list, really. Depends on how much you've emailed them before, and yeah, just how engaged they are essentially. And this is obviously applicable also for VIP. If you're sending to VIPs and you're getting quite a low open rate, maybe you should reduce the time that the person has spent that amount. Okay, maybe you should shorten the time frame, so it has to have happened more recently. Yeah, so obviously this is what you should be using, and yeah, it's can be a little bit complicated. Doing this in practice is actually quite a lot of work, as you'll probably find. So as I say, if you run an e-commerce store, save yourself the headache of learning to be an email expert and apply to work with the agency. The link is in the description below. Obviously, I'm sure you have lots of things to do as a busy business owner. So yeah, as I say, I think to really progress and really grow the revenue, it really does help to hire an expert team, get this handled, and allows you to just focus on other tasks. So as I say, the link is in the description if you'd like to just discuss working with the agency. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you, and hope you enjoyed the video. Okay.